7:25, Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to you, men.
Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day, men.
Said that so emphatically.
Hey, pause. Pause.
What are
Hold
you
on.
pausing for?
Look, don't be telling me Happy Valentine's Day. I don't swing that way.
Oh, so now it's gay to tell another man Happy Valentine's Day?
Yes, and always has been.
Jake, Happy Valentine's Day to you and you only. Not this man, Cisco.
Hey,
Happy
look,
Valentine's Day to everybody. Love should be spread across everywhere, no matter
Yeah,
if
it's
you
a day
hate the
of love.
person or not. Yeah, it's a day of love,
Happy
not hate.
Valentine's Day to all my single people. If you're in a relationship, I
He's
hope you have a
bitter. He's
horrible day.
bitter.
I don't
He's
care.
bitter.
I'm as
You know
bitter as they
what?
come.
For this episode, you're on the bottom tonight, bro.
I
You're on
ain't
the
no
bottom
bottom.
tonight.
I ain't no bottom. Don't put me on no
You're a
bottom.
bottom tonight.
Look
Yes,
at
sir.
look at this.
You were on the
Look at this
bottom
racial.
tonight.
Look at this racial injustice.
Nothing racial about it.
This is racism. How dare you
Uh,
put me on bottom?
so anyway,
Started.
like I said, it is 7:26 now, Valentine's Day. In case you didn't know, Cisco. Um,
I didn't. Thank you.
so we got a good show ahead of us. Nothing too crazy. We are gonna discuss a little bit of the Nintendo Direct that happened this past week. Jake and I did stream that. Um, so Cisco, we're gonna want to hear your thoughts on that. And we're also gonna be talking mainly about how Tears of the Kingdom is $70 and just video games in general going in that direction of games being a lot more expensive than they've been. But before we get into that, Cisco, as a single man on Valentine's Day, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am
Oh,
sorry.
that ain't
And the
right.
shots
I'm
just
sorry.
keep on coming.
That ain't right, bro.
Nonetheless, how's your day been going? How's your week been?
Day's been all right. Week's been all right. I mean, it did just start, so there's a lot of room for things to go right, a lot of room for things to go not so right. But I mean, for the time being, we're chilling, chilling.
Chilling indeed. Flowrider, aka Jake.
Florida man.
That's the Florida man right there.
Yes,
How's your
sir.
day going? How's your week going?
Day's been pretty okay. Was active most of half the day, and now I'm kind of chilling on the back half of it. This week's gonna be crazy. I gotta get up at 6 a.m. For a couple days to drop my sister off to school because my mom's in Chicago right now. So lots of stuff going on. So yeah,
Nice. Nice. Alrighty then.
Big brother responsibilities.
Well,
yep. Love them or hate them.
we're gonna get right into these topics then. Since it sounds like you guys don't really have all too much going on. I myself don't have very much going on. So like I said, there was a direct on Wednesday, and we discussed things we wanted to see in it, things we thought we'd see in it last Tuesday. And crazy thing is, quite a bit of it did come true. Um, so now with some days, almost a week since the direct has aired, how you guys feel about that last direct?
I think it was pretty okay. I think it was pretty
Pretty
okay.
okay?
I see some people saying it was it was amazing. It was like a 9 out of 10. It was like, all right, I don't know about all that. I give it
Yeah,
like,
a lot of people seem to really hold this direct as one of the best ever.
yeah, like I don't know that I feel that strongly about it. I think if I gave it a score, I'd probably give it like a solid 7. Is good stuff in there, but not like amazing.
I agree. I agree. And before we get your thoughts, Jake, I do want to point out everything. I don't think we saw one thing like brand new. Maybe Professor Layton, I think, was probably a surprise for people who care about that. I don't think anything else was like a new game that I could think of. Like DLC was new, and like obviously, like Metroid Remaster is new, but it's a remaster of an old game. We knew
Yeah.
about there were no like new announcements, and I think that is probably why it's not also like an 8 or a 9 or a 10 for me. I'm right with you, Cisco, at a 7. And I think it's because of that. And what we did see from like Zelda, which is what I was most excited for. Of course it was amazing, but like I still don't feel like it showed me enough.
Yeah.
It was just kind of more of, I don't even want to say more of the same, but uh I still don't know what the point of the game is. And I think that's what's making it seem like it wasn't such a great trailer. But before we dive more into that, Jake, how did you feel about the direct?
For the most part, I also gave my thoughts on the stream too. If you guys want to rewatch that, but like basically, I thought I'm kind of right with you guys, though I'm a little bit higher on it just because of the fact that, like, when I look at this objectively, I think it really had this direct kind of had a little bit of everything for everybody. I felt like it was catered to a lot of fans, to a very variety of fans in Nintendo. I mean, uh, getting Pikmin and then the Metroid remaster, and then there was also the new Bayonetta prequel game that also came out during that. So that is also catering to Bayonetta fans, and then the Professor
Is it
Layton
really
one.
though? Not to cut you off, but I really don't think that's I really don't think Bayonetta fans are like really into that. I mean, they might be, but I just get it's so different. I don't know any Bayonetta fans that said like this is the kind of Bayonetta game they want. Like I don't even know if they know they wanted something like that.
Yeah,
I have a
I
hard
guess it
time
just
believing that.
depends. It just depends. I feel like it also depends on the player itself because they could the person that wants the gameplay obviously will say that this game is not for me, but I guess this is more for supposed to be. I mean, this is a prequel, so this is probably more. This was supposed to be more about lore than anything else. I think, and I think that was their intention. So I think it is going to cater to some Bayonetta fans that care more about the lore and stuff and the plot and stuff like that than the actual gameplay. So it just kind of depends on the player. But I do think some fans were definitely happy about that. But it goes. I think it kind of goes both ways. But at the same time, I feel like I could kind of say that for a lot of other games. But there's also a lot of other games that cater to both the gameplay and the story person. So, but overall, I thought the direct was pretty good. I actually would give it an 8 out of 10. I don't really know if there was a better direct that really catered to everybody else. I think the only way they could have done this better is just to actually reveal something new, like you said, and that would really get a lot of people hyped and everything. But for what it's worth for this direct, I think it's a solid 8 out of 10.
All right, an 8 out of 10. Yeah. So I think we're all kind of in the same ballpark of what we thought about the direct, and yeah, I just think it was super super solid. I do think it was probably like one of the best paced directs
Hmm.
ever. I didn't get into that super just boring mood that the directs tend to put me in a lot of times. It started, and Jake, you and I were watching. I told you I was like, it's starting to hit that wall for me where like I just want to see something good. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, everything from the Game Boy announcement and beyond was like a top tier direct. But that didn't take place until like the 25-minute mark. So like more than half of the direct was just kind of mid. Um especially uh like the Splatoon stuff was just kind of like cool. Pikmin 4, if you're not really into that, it's it's not going to do anything for you. And like I like Pikmin, but it's just more Pikmin. Like I'm not hyped for that. I might get it if there's nothing else going on at the time. But yeah, the first half pretty boring but paced well. The second half was just like good stuff after good stuff, in my opinion. And so I get where people are coming from, calling it like the best direct of all time. Like I understand because it did have a lot, but like we've said, there wasn't anything like brand new. And for me personally, the Zelda trailer was like just an okay Zelda trailer. And I'm not
Yeah.
complaining. I'm not complaining. I'll take anything I can get from Tears of the Kingdom. I was definitely hyped to see it, but after a day or two kind of worn off and I, go back and watch the trailer, kind of just like, oh, we can build stuff. And we heard Ganon's voice probably. And it looks like there's some Redeads, Cisco. I don't know if you saw that. There looks to be Redeads coming back, which is cool.
Okay.
So there's like little like lore drops and things like that are cool. But like the meat and potatoes of the game, I still don't know what's there. And we still haven't heard anything. Like we don't know anything about the game.
Not at all.
Other than it's just more Breath of the Wild.
I honestly think that I wanted to also say that I'm a little higher on like the Splatoon DLC thing just because I kind of like the side stuff that they're doing, like with the story and everything. I really think that's going to cater to some fans that actually care about that. So I think that the DLC, it's kind of gives Splatoon 3 a little freshen it up kind of feel.
So what's it doing though? Because you and I watched it, and we were both under the impression that if they're adding Splatoon 1, like the hub world, that they're gonna maybe be adding Splatoon weapons in and maybe maps. But
yeah.
After looking at it again, they didn't actually say that. Essentially, the first wave of DLC is just a reskin of the hub world, and it's paid.
So yeah, I don't know about the maps, but I do remember in the trailer that you can walk into that same the weapons store from Splatoon 1 and buy I think some of those weapons. I'm not 100% sure if you can buy all of the weapons from Splatoon 1. But I'm pretty sure you can buy exclusive weapons and combos from Splatoon 1 for sure. Because I remember seeing that in the stream that is when you go into the shop, it's those characters from the shops in Splatoon 1 and stuff like that compared to Splatoon 3. So I'm pretty sure they're going to integrate those. But the maps were not confirmed. They didn't show the maps yet. So I think that's it.
Right. And also, none of us here are Xenoblade fans, so I know Xenoblade fans are pretty hyped about the DLC stuff that was shown off.
Game's trash.
But then there's also the Engage DLC, which kind of changed the game too for a lot of players, actually.
Oh yeah, trash. there was Engage DLC.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you look back at it, there is a lot of stuff like significant stuff, not just like the mid-level anime game or farm simulators or just JRPG after JRPG. Like there was actually like, whether you like Pikmin 4 or not, like that's a pretty decent sized trailer that they showed off. The DLC for Splatoon is whatever you think about Splatoon, still that's significant.
That's true. Yep.
Xenoblade, Fire Emblem.
It's everything. Like everything in the stream is like whatever. It's if it caters to you, you care about it, you're gonna get hyped about it. But if it's not, it's just like you could skip over it. But then something, I feel like in this stream and this direct, it felt like at some point you were gonna get something that was gonna get you some satisfaction out of it.
Definitely. And so I definitely do want to touch on the Metroid Prime remaster announcement, because not only did they finally show it off, but I was way more shocked to see it with shadow dropping.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I didn't expect I didn't expect that last Tuesday when we did this podcast that the following Tuesday we would have already been able to play Metroid Prime Remaster. Like,
Yeah.
that's just crazy. And it looks amazing. Cisco, I know you've been playing it. I personally am waiting for the physical. Jake, I don't know when you plan on playing it. I know you haven't yet because you just don't play any games other than Fire Emblem, but that's neither here nor there. So
That
Cisco,
will change one day at
Cisco,
some point.
so
Eventually.
far. What do you think about the remaster?
I will say, first off, I mean, everyone knows already, but their game looks incredible. I mean, it
Doesn't
looks,
even look like a Switch game.
No, it doesn't. It's like, and I know I say that, it doesn't look like it's like a PlayStation 5 game or anything, but it does not look like a Switch game at all. Like, not even remotely close to a Switch game. I know there's kind of some, what's the word I'm looking for? People aren't agreeing that it's the best looking Switch game. Not everyone
Mhm.
agrees with that, but it is easily top 5. I mean,
Oh yeah, like I see
Mario
others
Kart
talking
8.
about Luigi's Mansion 3, Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
You know, even some people say Breath of the Wild, even though I disagree. I think Metroid Prime is definitely nicer looking than Breath of the Wild. But no matter what you choose, you can't deny that this is a top 3 probably best looking Switch game.
Without a doubt.
And I know the original was 60 frames per second, but they were able to keep this game 60 frames per second too, which a lot of Switch games have a hard time doing it. Looks like it's buttery smooth too. I haven't noticed any issues.
Yeah, not a single one. Not from what I've seen.
I didn't even know the original was 60 FPS. That's cool.
It's crazy that
fun.
retro and with Metroid, it's there even back on the GameCube. Like they're able to take a Nintendo console and push it like beyond its limits. It feels like
Yeah,
That's
they
crazy.
definitely are.
like it always seems like they're doing some sort of magic to the Nintendo console that they're developing Metroid for. It's nuts.
Dang.
They definitely are. And it is
So-
I'll say one other thing I'll say about it, because I know we don't want to spend too much time on it, is dual stick. It's like it feels like it was meant to be. And I know
That's how you're playing?
What's up?
That's how you're playing dual stick?
Yeah, because I'm playing on Pro Controller right now.
Yeah.
And because of that, I don't really want to I don't want to do the gyroscope controls on the Pro Controller because I have to take the whole controller, move it around. But if I was playing on Joy-Cons, I definitely would be using motion controls. But for Pro-Con, the dual stick is perfect. It just, I know it sounds like it's self-explanatory because that's where all first-person games have gone. It's just, it feels so good for you to actually be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like when I see it, like when I played because I played Metroid Prime for the first time maybe a couple months ago, and when I was playing it, I was using the Wii motion controls, and it felt really good when it works. When it's not desyncing from the that's really annoying. But when it works, it does feel really good. But if you go and play a modern first person, like even Halo, like when we would play Halo Cisco, that definitely feels more natural to a first person shooter perspective.
Mhm.
And so to have Metroid with like the dual stick controls, more of like a modern shooter, I think it's only going to make the game better. As someone who does like gyro controls, like in Splatoon, I like it. I like it in Zelda and Breath of the Wild, being able to shoot arrows, and it just gives me a little more control over like where I want to point the gun or arrows or whatever I'm using. And so I've seen people saying that the Metroid gyro controls, it's like a little too sensitive.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't know that you can actually change the sensitivity
Oh.
of the gyro controls. So
Right.
a couple people have said if you put it down quite low, the gyro controls actually feel really good with it. So that's how I plan on trying it out. If I don't like that, I'll just do dual stick as well. But I'm really, really excited for the 22nd to get here. So I can play this game again. I was probably maybe 5 hours away from the end, I want to say, if I had to guess. I had one more Chozo artifact to find, and then I think I was probably going to be nearing the end. So I'm not going to do that on my Wii U. I'm just going to wait for the remaster, and I'm going to beat the game on Switch. So it's still giving me something to look forward to.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't want to spend the whole entire time talking about Metroid because I'm sure we probably could. Jake, do you have anything else you want to say about it? Are you going to play it?
One of these days for sure. I
Okay,
definitely
so
want to play it.
a couple
Prime
years.
has been, yeah, maybe. Prime has definitely been on my backlog for the longest time, but like pretty much right at the top. But now I'm like questioning if I should do Zelda first. So it's either Zelda or Metroid that's coming up.
I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Yeah,
I think whatever direction you go, you're in for a ride. That's for sure. Why not both? You could probably play Metroid the way you play games. If you get 2 hours a night, you could beat Metroid in a week or two, and then move on to Zelda.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is Metroid is definitely the quicker experience, and it's less likely to suck you in because there's not there is overlap, but for Prime, there are only 3 Prime games, and they're not the most accessible right now,
yeah,
and they're very different, very distinct from 2D Metroid. They're both really good, and you can feel the similarities between them when you play them, as far as like game concepts, but you're not gonna go, man, I really love Metroid Prime. I want to play a game like Metroid Prime, and then go play Super Metroid because it's not going to be the same experience.
right.
Yeah,
Whereas with Zelda, you can go, man, I really like Wind Waker, and then you go play Twilight Princess, and it feels pretty similar. Then you go play, and you just keep going and going and going and going.
yeah. There's a lot. You can go down the Zelda rabbit hole for sure.
So if you play Prime, you can get that out the way, and then your Metroid experience will be, fulfilled for the time being, and you can move on to whatever else.
I wanted to start with 2D because I think it makes the most sense with the timeline, is from what I learned, because I remember watching a few videos where it's like it starts with uh, the first 2 Metroids, then Super Metroid, and then it was the Prime, I think, by timeline. Uh, and it made the most sense with the whole her, what was that, like the little thing that goes with her or whatever to the other planets. But like I know that she meets that thing after a certain 2D Metroid game and then reappears in Prime, I think. So I kind of wanted to do 2D first just to have it make sense in case the lore kind of got lost with me if I played Prime first.
So as far as the timeline is concerned,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't really matter that
I
much.
don't pay attention to that.
And
But go ahead, Cisco. You just don't need to
yeah,
put
it's
so much
not
stock into the timeline.
the story isn't the most relevant thing, and it's very easy to put the pieces of the puzzle together as you play each game.
Huh.
So it's not
Okay.
like you're not gonna play Super Metroid and then think, oh man, I should have played Prime first because the story of Prime takes place before Super Metroid. I don't know what's going on. The stories feel relatively contained, and they're all extremely simple.
Okay. Gotcha.
I
And
also think right before Dread came out, Nintendo did a pretty good job of giving a nice overview of every game and its story. So
mm,
you kind of knew what you were in for going into Dread. So if you did just kind of want to, because it's not going to spoil the game for you knowing, for the most part. Maybe there will be a little bit of spoilers if you know certain things, but for the most part, you could read through that and then go into it and just enjoy the game for its gameplay rather than what story
Yeah.
it's trying to tell in
I
a
figured
timeline.
I figured that with this game, like the gameplay is going to suck you in more than the story anyway, considering it didn't look like it, especially with 2D games. Like 2D games don't exactly do a good job of trying to integrate those kind of things. So I already knew that like the story was just kind of simplistic and straightforward. But I also just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't, some things wouldn't make sense to me if I played the Prime games first.
Definitely,
So
because
Actually,
you like
oh,
that
sorry.
stuff though. No, go
Sorry
ahead,
to interrupt.
Cisco.
Just real quick. Uh, Prime 1 takes place before Super Metroid.
got it. Okay.
So even if you were trying to look at it from a story standpoint, starting with Prime is still pretty good. I will say the only games where you have to be concerned about story, because like pretty heavy things as far as story are concerned happen, would be Fusion and then into Dread.
I was gonna say Dread.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
That's what I was saying about don't read up too much on
yeah.
Metroid Dread.
Yeah,
That's one you
so
don't want to be spoiled on.
don't touch that.
And I can
Oh,
tell
okay,
you, as someone
gotcha.
who didn't know anything about the backstory really at all, the parts in Dread where there could be spoilers still hit me pretty hard. You don't really need to know that much about, as long as you just kind of have a basic understanding of the story, which the game does a good job of telling you before the game starts. If you play Dread,
Yeah.
those moments of the game will still hit pretty good. And the one
Okay.
last thing I wanted to say before we move on, and Cisco, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It feels like a lot of the games that I've played, the Metroid games I've played, are almost designed to where you could kind of choose to read more up within the game on the story it's trying to tell. But it's also designed to where if someone like me, who doesn't want to go read a million things, could just go right on by and you don't really even have to, you don't have to mess with it. It's not going to ruin the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, all the story is really self-contained. Um, Really, what it is you're just learning about what's going on with the planets. So it helps you feel more immersed in that particular game on its own. But the only overarching story is what happens to Samus.
Right.
But like in Metroid Prime, you're on one planet, and then you can choose to become more or less immersed in that particular planet. And then Metroid Prime 2, you're learning about civilization, and you can choose to learn more about them or not. And it helps you feel more immersed on that particular planet. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
it's
think
all
that the immersion is like honestly kind of an important factor for me. So I would want to feel that immersion
but
within the game
it's
too.
all within the game.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And you'll know more what I'm talking about when you play Prime, of where like you can choose to read more or less about what's going on in the world around you. You'll know what I mean when you play it, but that's kind of where it is. So Prime 1 is not a bad place to start. It's actually a pretty good place to start.
Okay.
So outside of that, I'd say the things that what do you guys think about Game Boy? We don't got to stay on this too long. Game Boy Advanced. I'm actually really, really happy Game Boy Advance is coming. I think I'm going to get a chance to play Fusion. So that's going to be really cool. Minish Cap. Oh, I can't wait to play that again. I was going to buy it on my Wii U before the eShop closed down, but I don't have to do that now. I'm just hoping for just more stuff in the future as well. Like, as much as I am not an RPG fan, I've always kind of been intrigued by Golden Sun because my brother had it, and I remember seeing him play it a little bit. So I kind of do maybe want to check it out when it comes. Probably
Okay.
fall off of it in a couple hours, but
It's free.
that doesn't stop me from wanting to try it out.
And it's
Yeah,
free.
exactly. It's free. It's
Yeah.
free, or it's a subscription. So however you want to look at it.
Something you would have been paying for anyway.
Right. Right, exactly. So just having Game Boy Advance on the Switch now is it's starting to make the NSO feel a lot more worth it.
Yeah, yeah. I want to see what the collection kind of expands to. There are some other games I'd like to see on there, maybe before I decide to buy it or not. But
What games are you looking forward to, like that aren't on there yet?
that aren't on there yet. Well, most of my Game Boy experience was Kirby and Mega Man. So I'm not particularly looking for those games to be on there, especially because all of the Mega Man games that I played are ported already, or at least will
Hmm.
be in the near future. I want it to be a little bigger and for me to see more games on there that I'd like to play. Because right now the only one that I really like to play is Golden Sun because I haven't played it either.
Hmm.
Fusion, I mean, it's cool that Fusion is on there and I can just turn on my Switch, but I could also just turn on my PC and emulate it because I already have it. So
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
not super excited for that. And the original Game Boy, I don't care. I don't care at all. So
Yo, the
I just want to
Oracle
see.
games, bro. You're not
I
gonna
want to
play
see
the
more.
Oracle games?
I guess I could, but
What do you
I
mean
mean,
you guess it?
there are
They're so good.
there are so many games coming out this year.
Yeah, I'm not
There's
saying
no
now. I'm not saying now. I'm not, but I mean, like, I do think if it's you're already paying for it, like, you already have it. When
I
those
don't
games come out,
I'm
they're gonna be right there.
I mean, yeah, but I'm paying the $20 right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So like don't I need the upgraded one for me to play it?
Oracle or Game Boy games.
Oh, so
Those are
the
Game
Game
Boy
Boy
Color.
Advance is the one
Game Boy
you get
Advance is
the
Minish Cap. Yeah, the Oracle games are gonna be on Game Boy.
right. I thought I needed to get the $50 or $60 one for me to play
No,
those.
no, no, not to play the Oracle games.
Okay. Huh. Well, all right, never mind.
Yeah. So you gotta
Eventually,
try those out.
but not this year.
Oh,
Not
I
this year.
didn't
But not
know
this
this
year.
either. So the original Game Boy games are going to be with the NSO, but the
Yeah,
Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color yeah, Game
just
Boy
Game Boy
Advance
Advance.
games, yeah, is going to just okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what you guys are
That's
paying for
interesting.
already, you have Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket, whatever you want to, whatever falls under that Game Boy category, uh, you guys will have.
Wow, so we could play original Pokemon then on
If
Switch
it
now. I think
if it comes
I
on
thought
there,
I thought
love
it
that game.
did, didn't
it's
it?
a trading card game. It's not
Oh, the
it's not
trading
the.
card game. Oh, okay, got
So
it.
Jake, something I've been hearing, and you might be interested in this too. I believe the 27th is Pokemon Day.
Yeah, it is. I think. Yeah.
So they're gonna do a Pokemon Presents, and it would not surprise me if
Oh,
they
boy.
drop red, blue, and yellow on NSO, maybe gold and silver, and
I
Pokemon Stadium on N64.
Oh, yeah. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they did red, blue, yellow for Game Boy, Pokemon Stadium, and then uh they do Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire for Game Boy Advanced.
Mm-hmm. That'd be crazy. That would be crazy.
I don't know if they would do Emerald yet though.
Oh, something I don't know if you guys saw or if you guys care. Cisco, what the hell is so funny, bro? What what's going on?
Now I want to know.
Oh no! I opened up Discord for 2 seconds and I shouldn't have, bro.
Well,
Oh my
now you got to
gosh.
spill the beans. Now you
Yeah.
got
Oh boy.
Hold on, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Hold on. This shouldn't have been made, but somebody made it.
All right, let's see. Is this something I should
Oh,
pull up on
no.
stream?
Just-
What the hell is this?
Look at look at the main character in the name.
No.
You gotta
Bro,
pull it up
I
now. You gotta pull it up now.
You want me
bro.
to pull? All right, hang on. Let me get this over here. Let me get this over here. I don't
No.
believe this is what you got me pulling up right now.
I opened Discord for 2 seconds. And so I was like, usually I'm pretty good about controlling my laughter. But the longer I looked at it, I
This is
couldn't help
what
it, dude.
this is what you're over there laughing.
Why do they have this, dog? They called it chromosome 21.
Man,
And the main character is a guy with Down syndrome. That's not okay, dude.
Oh.
they yeah, they did.
This is
Twitter
what the
does.
response is to
They did what Twitter does.
Oh man,
This
We're
is
taking
what
that down
they're-
right now.
I wanted to see some of the comments.
I'm not scrolling that right now. You can
this
go
is
look at
the
those on
re-
your own time.
This is their first response to after doing the just cracking down on sharing passwords.
Oh gosh.
They're about to lose a whole lot more subscribers now.
Look, we haven't hit 20 subscribers yet. They ain't going nowhere.
I meant Netflix subscribers.
Oh, Netflix. Okay.
To bring things back on topic here.
I was going to
because,
say, if anything, we could post that. We could make that a short, and we get more subs.
Ooh, true.
Oh no, dude.
So you guys saw that Fire Emblem was coming to Game Boy Advance, right?
Was
I
that,
don't
Yeah,
know how much
so-
it matters to you guys if you care, but I did hear that the Japanese NSO gets the other game, Roy's
Yeah.
game or something.
Yeah,
like that?
it gets Binding Blade. Yeah.
Yep, and that's the one that has never been ported.
Right. So that's also what I wanted to bring up, though. This is leading me into another thing. And I don't think you guys really care about this. Even I don't necessarily care, but I think you guys will understand the magnitude of what this could mean. If they did finally bring Mother 3, even if it's just Japan, I think it's the one way they might be able to get away with maybe not giving it to the US, but
Having the US
there's an
be able to
easy way
access-
for people in the West to be able to access Mother 3 pretty easily.
Yeah.
And so that's something to keep an eye out for too. There's some big things that could happen in the future.
Yeah, and not to do any sort of speculation, I just want to get Jake's opinion on this. I know
This
we've
Fire
been
Emblem?
hearing about that. Yeah, the Fire Emblem.
All right,
remake that we're
I'll
supposed
sit
to
back.
get.
You guys just call me when
It's gonna be like 2 minutes, bro. Chill out. So we have Fire Emblem 6 that was released in Japan, but not the US. And there have been rumors about a Fire Emblem remake, and people have been speculating it being 4 or 6. Do you think them not porting it over? Do you think that has anything to do with the chance that the remake is Fire Emblem 6?
Well, the problem is that FE4 is also on the Japanese NSO too for the Switch and not on the American. So they didn't
Oh,
import.
is it?
Yeah, it's FE4 is also on the Japanese version. So I don't. It's still the chances are still equal. Just knowing that, I think.
Okay.
I think because they're still just want to cater to the Japanese fans. I still think the remake is going to be 4 or 6. It just I don't think it really means anything in this case.
Okay.
That's going to boost the remakes about 6.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of rumors saying that it's going to be 4. So I didn't know if this meant anything, but if 4 is already on there, then yeah, whatever.
Like yeah, it's just depends because I would like to see both because 6 is already kind of a average FE to begin with. So having a remake for it would honestly be great, but then having an FE4 remake would be even better because that's been looking forward to for a lot of people for a long time. So
Yeah.
all right, Gage, you can wake up.
Thank God.
Oh yeah, one more thing, Jake.
No, all right. So the last thing that we're going to talk about from that direct, you guys are lucky I don't have my soundboard tonight because there would have been plenty of anchor shot right now.
Wait, where is the soundboard? I don't.
I mean, I literally could pull it up right now. I use voice
Oh.
mod and I have to just change my my mic input to it. But the
Oh,
thing is,
okay.
whenever we're done with the podcast and I leave my room, like my computer doesn't go to sleep because voice mod keeps it awake. So I've just avoided using it when I can.
Gotcha.
Man, that's really the only thing.
Ben Franklin knows who I am. Ben
Franklin knows who I am, bitch. I gotta get some new ones. Boo! Boo!
Boy!
All right. He copied my whole fucking flow. All right. So last, we're gonna talk about Zelda. Cisco, you and I might just do at some point a different Zelda discussion in the future. Just because I'm always itching to talk about Zelda. So
Mhm.
I don't want to drag this too long at all. We already said at the start of the show. I think both of us kind of feel the same way. The latest trailer is cool to see. There's definitely some super cool stuff in the trailer. It's hype, but at the same time, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Um, I do think. I think Ganon, if that is Ganon talking, I think sounds pretty good. I'm not mad about it. Um, if that's going to be Ganon's voice in the game, not going to bother me at all. Sounds better than I think Zelda's voice. I don't really like Zelda's voice all that much.
Not about the British accent.
I don't really think it's that. It's something else about it. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Not a big deal to me. But another big story about Zelda that's recently been taking over headlines is this is Nintendo's first game. Well, I don't know if it's technically the first game that they're going to be selling for $70 because there is. I don't know if you guys know, but a lot of Super Nintendo games were very, very expensive, brand new, just base games. But outside of that, they are making the jump to sell Zelda for $70 retail. That's $10 more than the standard price for video games. And this has a lot of people up in arms. You have people who think they just think Nintendo is crazy for doing this. And then you have others who think that it's justified. Where do you guys stand on the $70 price point for Zelda? And do you think more Nintendo games on the Switch are going to be $70? That's what I want to know. Cisco?
Do I think it's justified? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of where like everyone else is doing it, so of course they were going to end up doing it. But no, overall, and this has more to do with the gaming industry as a whole. I think we definitely talked about this a little bit in the Discord, where it's like the way the industry has been moving. I mean, games are becoming immensely more popular nowadays. Like the amount of average everyday people that play video games now, as opposed to even like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
is so drastically different. These industries are getting bigger and bigger. These aren't like $1 million industries anymore or companies anymore. These are $1 billion industries. I mean, like we said, Nintendo on Smash Brothers Ultimate, the base game, no DLC included alone, made like $1.8 billion in revenue. Like that's just Smash Ultimate.
Put it this way. Nintendo, by the end of this year, with Tears of the Kingdom coming out and whatever else they have coming out throughout the rest of the year, they are going to surpass 1 billion sales in software for the Switch alone. That's not just $1 billion on a game made. 1 billion individual games sold.
See, like
It's nuts.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So, like you guys are they have to be making more money than they ever have, right? There's no way the numbers jump. There's no way they're making all these sales that they've never made before, and they're not making more money. I mean, yeah, things are going to become more expensive as you continue to upgrade, but if you have the money to make Nintendo Land and to rest on the heels of a console that's 6 years old, I mean, I think you're pretty good, So like there's as far as income is concerned, no, there's no reason if like regardless of the economy being worse, regardless of any of that, they're still making more money than ever. So why would they need to raise the price outside of just because, you know?
Yeah.
This is the biggest Switch game, and they do have to do it on a different cartridge size.
What
This
Tears of the Kingdom?
for Tears of the Kingdom, I think is going to be like 18.2 gigs, and I think the standard cartridges could hold 16. I'm not saying that justifies the price. I don't know how much more expensive those cartridges are to get. It is just one thing to keep in mind when looking at this price jump. Jake, what
Yeah.
do you want to say? I want to know what you have to say before I start rambling. I don't know where I'm going to go.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, it's like you said. I think it really depends on the production cost. If they're gonna make this really huge, if they're gonna make this even bigger than Breath of the Wild, it- the production cost has to be a lot more higher. But I'm also with Cisco on this one. I don't know if that justifies enough for me to justify the price increase. And like this is also coming from us veteran gamers that really were used to back in the day buying PS2 games and Xbox games for like $30, $40
Hold
a
that thought.
piece.
Hold that thought.
Oh boy, what is this?
So, this is the SNES.
Oh, there we
As
go.
you can
Yeah.
see, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, $69.99. NBA Hang Time, $69.99.
Jesus. Are you
Street
kidding?
Fighter Alpha 2, $69.99. An SNES controller, $14.99. What the hell was going on back in the 90s, bro? How are you gonna sell these games for $70 and your controller for $15?
So from
Well,
what I remember,
there was no
I,
industry back then.
right, there was
There
no
was no
industry.
standard.
Yeah. And the other thing is that I remember reading a study about this because I actually remember doing a research paper on this when I was in college. That the reason why they really like some cartridges costed almost close to $100. I think what was it? Mario 64 actually costed like $80 or something like that. It was really darn expensive. Some of the cartridges were so valuable back then that Nintendo raised the price on certain games because they knew people would buy more for certain games and then would lower the price on certain games that they would think that people wouldn't think as popular. So that's why you're seeing a lot of price differentiations here. And the other part about
Makes
this is
sense. Makes sense.
like Cisco said, is that the industry was very small. So production costs for creating cartridges back then in the 90s and the early 2000s was a lot more higher and a lot more harder to produce than it is now, and it's a lot more efficient than it is today now. So
Yeah.
for them, plus with the economy was actually pretty a lot more cheaper back in the early 2000s, at least until the economy crashed. But then they still they still justified it by most of the production costs and the values of the cartridges, which Nintendo kind of smartly like marketed and knew that people were going to pay a lot more for Mario, like a Mario game or a Pokemon Stadium. I think Pokemon Stadium was pretty high up there too.
I
Than
think
some of the
Pokemon
other
Stadium had
games.
a Rumble pack in like packaged in with it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was going was production costs and resources. I mean, these days, if you wanted to get a free engine to make a game, I can go download one like right now. If I wanted to go get Unreal Engine or Unity Engine, Engage is
Yeah.
made on Unity Engine. And now, granted, Nintendo did have to pay to use Unity to the degree that they did, but the fact that you could get a free engine, an open source one, just cause I would
And you also
imagine, those kinds of resources back then were much more difficult to get because you had to pretty much make your own.
yeah. Because especially with today's world, everything is digitized. Especially back then, nothing was digitized. Nothing was available on through the internet. Everything was basically through. Like even us, we had to find out cheats and guides through magazines and books and stuff like that. And now everything's digitized and everything. So it's a lot more, everything's a lot more, so much more accessible. It's not, doesn't have to be handmade anymore through actual blue collar work, because I'm pretty sure in the early 90s, they actually had to hand make a lot of cartridges and production stuff like that. So
I'd argue that there's a lot more expected out of you now because of that, though.
that is true. The expectation is a lot higher, and especially I think for a company like Nintendo, their expectation is a lot more higher that they want. But I also think that goes both ways, because they also have a higher expectation that now the marketing has to be perfect. Whereas like back then it was more, I feel like gaming back then too was just, it was a completely different mindset. It was a much more like, it's just, going into hobby, but a lot of people kind of look down upon video games. And so
It
Nintendo
was
was
just more
just
of
like,
like a kids kind of thing to do.
yeah,
It
right. It
was
was a
always
kids
viewed
thing
as
like
just
that.
like a younger generation kind of thing.
Right. So I think the marketing also really drastically changed throughout the years, because now everybody feels like that anybody at any age in this generation can play whatever game is catered to them. And I think Nintendo was kind of, and a lot of other game companies for that matter, especially PlayStation and Xbox, are now looking at this knowing that, okay, now we can produce a game pretty cheaply. It just depends on how much we put into a game now, because especially when you look at today's world, like how much you put into a game, the content of a game, compared to putting content into a game 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, is also very drastically different too.
I mean,
Especially with
you
the
make good
concept of
points.
DLC. Yeah,
You do make
concept of
good
DLC.
points, and which is why I understand Sony going to $70. It's not what I want. It's something that I just fully expect, though. I'd say games more so than a lot of other things in the world has relatively stayed around the same price for a lot longer than mostly everything else. At least since like the late 90s up until about now. For the most part, I always remember buying games for $50 to $60. Usually $60. It feels like I've been buying brand new games for $60 my whole entire life. That's what it feels like. So the fact that it's making the price jump now, I kind of like expected it. But like I said, it's not what I want. And I don't want to come off like I'm defending any of the companies doing that. But for Sony and Microsoft, I kind of get it. The Switch is different to me. It's 2017 hardware with some of the stuff internally in it.
It's like 2013, 2014.
That exactly what I'm about to say. Some of the like the stuff in it is even older than that. And they've already been selling their AAA games at $60 this whole time. And now suddenly it's like, you know what? Well, everyone else is doing it, so we're going to sell a game for 70 now too. And it's going to be Zelda because we know we can get away with it. Almost like they're testing the waters.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think they're selling it for 70 because the game is bigger. I don't think they're selling it for $70 because a lot of time went into it. I think they're testing the waters is what I think is going on here. And they have come out and said that this is not the standard going forward. But Nintendo's lied to our faces before about plenty of things. The next gen console
hasn't.
A Switch 2, whatever comes out next, $70 is going to be the standard. That's just what it's going to be. The one thing though that I don't know if they'll be able to get away with, because I consider myself a Nintendo fanboy, and my thoughts align with a lot of other Nintendo fanboys, and I cannot tell you guys that I would feel comfortable paying $70 for another Mario sports game. I would feel perfectly fine spending $70 for Mario Kart 9, a Smash game, a Zelda game, Metroid Prime. You guys know what I'm talking about. A new like 3D Mario.
Yeah, the big stuff.
The big games. But even something like Luigi's Mansion, like if a Luigi's Mansion 4 comes out and it's just like a slightly better version of Luigi's Mansion 3, that doesn't that I can't justify $70.
Yeah.
That's going to be something where I'm going to say, well, I'm going to wait for a sale. And I say all that now, but on the other hand, if that's what all of them are, and that's just going to be the standard now, I might cave and just have to get them. I don't know. It's really hard to say. But what I do want to say is I don't think most Nintendo games, like 80, 90% of Nintendo games, can justify a $70 price. It doesn't seem right.
You slightly touched on where I was gonna extend on from that. Is like, again, not to defend anything, but I think a small part of why games might be $70 could be maybe not necessarily the production of the game itself, but like, because I know discs are more expensive as well. I know going from PlayStation 2 discs to PlayStation 3, the discs were much larger, but they're also a fair bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So like, there were games that I played on the PlayStation 2, and the PlayStation 2 discs were way bigger than the ones for Xbox, mind you. One game in particular, I've mentioned it before, Star Ocean 3 was a 2-disc game. You needed 2 discs to play that game.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, like, stuff like that is kind of what I'm talking about. And Sony and PlayStation, they have a vocal minority of people who always want to push the hardware as far as possible. It's like the same vocal minority on PC, where it's like your average PC user is going to be using a relatively okay graphics card from like 2010. That's what Steam said the average is. But then you have the people that are like, oh, well, my 4090 is overheating. Like, come on, guys, step up. My 4090 is overheating. And it's like 99% of people aren't getting a RTX 4090.
Right.
Like, nobody needs that kind of power, you know? But there's still that pressure for these companies to, because there's enough of a market to where like they can and almost feel like they need to sell like the newest, the the greatest, the most updated, the most powerful games and hardware that they can possibly put out there. And there are a lot of accommodations that need to be made with that. So I can, again, just like you said, I don't agree, but I understand. At the same point, none of this applies to Nintendo.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Everything you're saying right now is not what Nintendo is going to do.
It's not. It doesn't apply to them at all.
It's not like they're ever pushing the graphical power forward like that.
Yeah.
No,
and
not
I'm
at
like,
all.
I'm
Like
with
my
you on
phone.
that.
My cell phone is more powerful than the Nintendo Switch. Why is my cell phone more powerful? That's ridiculous.
It's got more battery life. Yeah. I mean, well, that's true for like most of it. But I feel like I'm at like an impasse because I'm actually used to buying games. I was used to buying really cheap games. I used to buy games for $30 off the Walmart or Target, and I played, some small scale PlayStation 2 games. So I'm not really surprised why it was like $30 and like I think the most expensive I probably paid was like $38 for a Madden game on PlayStation 2. But then it was like, and then they jumped to PS3, and I remember that the standard at the time for PS3 discs was $50. It wasn't 60 at that point yet, and it was 50 for about a couple years, and then the PS4 came out, and then the Xbox also came out, and that's when they made the jump to $60. Now Nintendo is kind of always priced, even with the Wii stuff, at 40, 50. It really depended on the game. Because even with the Wii also used discs. So like I feel like we also have to kind of look at the Wii compared to the PlayStation and Microsoft. Because I also remember not paying that much for Wii discs either.
Go look at how
And
much Wii games were.
I think they were like I want to
40 or
say
so.
the
40 or
most
50.
40 or 50. I want to say the most I bought was 50. The most expensive one I bought was 50.
I remember buying the Fire Emblem game for Wii, and that was $50.
Yeah.
I remember being in
So
the store, seeing, oh wow, there's a sequel, and then buying it.
yeah, so so even the Wii disc were around that time. It was kind of that standard where the discs for PlayStation 3, Wii, Xbox, they were all $50. And then they jumped to PS4, and then the Xbox, I think, jumped to Xbox One. And then now we have, well, actually, Nintendo first went to Wii U, and I think the Wii U games also jumped to $60. That's when everything jumped to $60.
Yeah,
So
I know
over time,
the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, those
yeah,
started the $60 trend. I know that much.
yeah, I think they started the $60 trend by like more later in the years, because I know in the beginning it was still 50.
I
Because
agree
I
with that.
remember I bought like a lot of PS3 games for just the $50, but then it took a little bit of time, and I think that also has to do with the economy rising a little bit too during that time. But it also could have been production costs. I think that was when they were starting to get to the end of their consoles and really optimizing how much power they could put into the console. And I think that was also a factor in them raising the price to 60. But again, like we were saying, this doesn't apply to Nintendo, but Nintendo has, it doesn't really justify. I don't think for any company it really justifies the price. I think for Nintendo specifically, it's like you guys said, there it's a much more older firmware. It's cartridges too. I think they're stocking a lot of value in the cartridges, because Nintendo always has had cartridges rather than the other companies, and I
Yeah.
think the cartridge is just so valuable to so many collectors and so many people that Nintendo has thinks that they have some justification by raising that price to 70, not because it's the industry standard, but I think because people really love the physical part of having Nintendo stuff and Nintendo hardware.
They should literally just sell the physical games then for $10 more, and the digital ones should just still be 60. If that's the
Absolutely.
case.
I would agree with that, but Nintendo is also Nintendo. Like they
Yeah,
have their
that
own,
yeah.
Marketing ideas. So
Yeah.
I'm not inside their head, but I think, if we're talking about
At the end
how
of the day, they're a company and they're trying to make money.
right, exactly, they're also
That's-
just trying to see how far they can extend this. It kind of how, like you're saying, they want to test the waters, because I'm pretty sure they want to figure out how much more extendable they can make their marketing and make their costs for these games.
Yeah. Well, I just think if they do it like what Cisco and I were just saying, where if they're AAA games, excluding Pokemon until it proves itself,
Mhm.
if those games are 70 and everything else is
That's kind of how it used
standard
to be.
60,
Yeah,
then
I think that's kind of how it used to be. I think like most of the big games were like that standard price, but then all
it
the
it's
much more
just that they
smaller mid games were like a
e-
lot more, like
even in the
$20,
Switch's
$10 cheaper.
but even in the Switch's lifespan, there, in my opinion, there's not very many games that I think is
Oh
worth that
yeah,
$70
Mm-mm.
price tag.
for
Like, I don't
sure.
think any of the Splatoon games are, even though they'll probably charge that for Splatoon. Like, I literally think Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, I don't,
I'm
Mario
gonna
Kart.
say, I'll say Metroid Prime 4, just because I know what the inside looks like and the kind of people they're hiring. But that's it.
I would say Metroid Prime 4 if we could actually see it. I'm just
Yeah.
going off of what we actually have. Outside of those two, I'm trying to think of what else they have that is
You think
justified
Splatoon's
for that
worth
kind of
that
price.
much?
And look,
No, I
I mean,
don't. I don't.
Nah, I don't.
any new Smash,
Oh,
anyone's gonna
Smash
go
Yeah.
Ultimate
for
is
Smash.
easy. Smash
Any-
Ultimate easy is worth it. That's about it.
Yeah,
That's about it. I don't think their games, as much as I love them, I don't think their games have the same amount of power and effort put into them like God of War,
No,
right?
not even close.
Horizon,
Elden
Ugh.
Ring.
so
God of
Elden
War.
Ring, exactly. It, like, those are the kind of games that, and same deal for PlayStation as well. I don't want to just only say Nintendo, but there's no way that Sonic Frontiers should be selling for $70. Like
Oh,
that's the kind of
no.
that's like
Yeah.
what I
No
what I
shot.
mean. It's I just feel like those really high budget games, you can justify the price tag for those.
Look, here's someone posted this video here on Twitter. They said this is why Elden Ring won best art direction over everything else. Just go ahead and put this on for people to see. In case anyone hasn't seen Elden Ring already.
Oh yeah,
I
I'm
haven't
sure
even
most
played the
people
game.
have. I'm sure
I've
most
never
people
played
have.
the game. But this is I mean, it's
The
Nintendo isn't
FPS
doing
on this is
anything
just
like this.
insane.
This is the most Elden Ring I've ever seen.
Yeah, me too. See, I didn't know. No, you can even sit like that. That's cool. I was gonna say I heard myself echo there.
No, that's because I was sharing the audio.
Oh.
That's why I cut it out pretty quickly. Yeah, the
see,
game looks insane.
And Nintendo's not doing anything like that. Not even close. Not even half
Yeah.
that.
Nope.
It was like you're telling me that
That's the most I've ever seen of it, and you're probably gonna think I'm crazy. I thought it looked better than that. That looks great. I thought it looked better than that though. Like in my mind, I thought it was gonna look even better than that.
because all the hype.
Yeah, all the hype, like this kind of brought it back down to earth to me.
Yeah. Not to shill for the game or anything, but you do have Twitter compression to think about.
Oh, for
And then
I'm seeing
also
through
may
that.
not
I'm
be-
seeing through the Twitter compression. It's not necessarily that. It still just has that I
He has
don't know.
X-ray vision through the Twitter compression.
That
Like you can tell it's a video game. Is what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think that this is totally a different conversation. And look, I know Nintendo games don't look as good as this or anywhere close to this, but that's why I appreciate what they do of not trying to go for hyper realistic art styles, to where a lot of times with what they make, it truly feels like it's its own world and universe, where as this looks like it's wannabe Lord of the Rings to me, and it just doesn't quite get there. I'm sorry, that's just how it looks to me. And look, it looks beautiful, the sights and everything. It just still looks like a video game to me. I don't feel like I could get lost in that world. That's just how I feel, and maybe that's because it's not bright and colorful. It's just how I feel.
These Nintendo fanboys.
It's just how I feel.
I think for him is like the peak is Breath of the Wild and like nothing else. It has to be
Didn't
better
I
than
just tell
that.
you?
Miyamoto.
Didn't I just tell you?
Miyamoto.
Miyamoto. Miyamoto.
Slurp, slurp, slurp. Miyamoto.
This just kind of, I mean, honestly, actually looking at it again right now, it doesn't even really look as good as I thought it did when I just watched it.
Yeah, there it is.
Is recency
There it
bias
is.
coming in.
You're trying to bait now.
He's about to get all the Elden Ring fans here. Hey, you know what? We'll take
For
it.
real, one last thing. This is dead serious. I do think Horizon and God of War look better than this.
Yeah, well, God of War
Straight up for
also
real.
is,
I
yeah.
do think God of War and Horizon look better than this.
But also God of War just
That's
took.
because those are colorful.
Yeah,
I also
probably.
gotta like.
Yeah, that's why this game just kind of looks like a wannabe Lord of the Rings, like I said.
Miyamoto.
The
What
crazy
does
thing is
Miyamoto
that-
have to do about this?
It's good. That's because you're.
When he starts making Horizon and God of War, come talk to me then. Ratchet and Clank look better than this.
Miyamoto.
Miyamoto.
That needs to be on the soundboard.
I was gonna say, where's the soundboard when you
Miyamoto.
needed it?
Miyamoto.
Right,
Miyamoto.
yeah. So I got it. The back of my
He's got to
throat real
put the
quick.
sounds on the soundboards. He's got to put a with the sound.
Bro, these fire animations don't even look like fire. Miyamoto would have made sure that this sky, like if this was the Blood Moon, this sky would look a lot better. The lighting on this
Oh.
tree does not even match what the sky looks like.
Yeah, you'd also be able to watch the light moving frame by frame
Yeah.
while you play.
He's gonna compare everything.
This
to Breath
game
of
was
the Wild.
$70. This game was $70.
No, it was $60.
It was
He's
60.
baiting hard.
You could say it's not even worth that.
It should have took the Metroid Prime approach and just sold it for 40. I mean, this looks like a remaster of what's it called? Oblivion.
Yeah, I'll
It is an
make
Elder
sure.
Scrolls game, isn't it?
I'll make sure that Miyamoto gets on the next one.
Yeah, you should call up Miyamoto and make sure that he can work some magic for this series. Like it's got a lot of work. It's got a lot of work if it wants to catch up to Breath of the Wild.
Heck,
It's a lot of work.
Sure,
Even
let's try it
Mario
with
Kart.
this Nintendo Switch system. That's that old.
yeah, Mario Kart looks better than that.
Yeah, you're not
Mario
wrong.
Kart. You know what? Mario Kart does look gorgeous for its own.
I don't know
Or-
why it looks so good.
Like it's.
If we're being for real, like Mario Kart
Don't.
still is one of the better looking. I'm
Oh,
not. I'm
okay,
being
all right,
serious.
all right, all right,
Look.
Yeah.
If being dead serious, I do think God of War and Horizon do look slightly better. Like for my taste, Elden Ring looks absolutely phenomenal. Way better than any Nintendo game.
All right,
Let's
all
just
right,
get
all
that
right,
out there.
all right,
Like
all right.
I'm
All right,
only
all right, all
fucking
right.
around.
All right. I thought I was scared. He was gonna say, "I'm gonna be completely honest. Mario Kart does look better than Elden."
No. Elden Ring probably does look better than Horizon and God of War, on like a graphical standpoint. I just mean more of the art direction, like this tweet says.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
fair.
necessarily think it needs to say that this is why Elden Ring won best art direction over Horizon and God of War. Like I would still choose the art direction of those two over this, just off of the way the game looks more than this. But this is one of the greatest games I've ever seen graphically. Oh, my camera's dying. I'm going to shut off the stream because we don't have much more to talk about.
All right.
Mario
well,
Kart 8 looks great. And
I'm sure we'll get Mario Kart 9 in the next 10 years.
you heard it here first. Mario Kart the next 10 years.
There we go.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.